All right, thanks for that great intro, and good luck to anyone who's going to win that big trip to Nashville. That sounds cool. I'm Patrick Osterhaus. I'm Chief Technology Officer for Protera, and today I'm going to talk to you about migrating to SAP Hana and S4 Hana and the approach there. So feel free, I think we got enough time. The presentation will probably run about 20 minutes, so we have plenty of time to do Q&A. If you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand, and we can do it as the presentation's going. So a little bit about Protera first. We started 20 years ago, October 1998. We're based in Chicago, Illinois, United States. We have offices around the world, so we have a very large service center in Athens, Greece, and we have a growing office in India, as well as regional offices in many, many countries around the world. We just opened a new office in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. We have 5 certifications from SAP. You can see here, hosting, mobile, cloud, SAP HANA, and AMS. We are certified as a global partner, and we are certified in Azure and both AWS for public clouds. And the reason we're here today is we take our relationship very seriously with SUSE and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our services today. Our mission is delivering SAP-centric services. So we cover the full stack, and we provide a platform to deliver those services. And I'll talk about how we do that momentarily. And that is with our 2 services, our 2 products, I'll say also. It's AppCare and FlexBridge. AppCare is a fully managed services platform that's SAP-centric. I'll talk about that in another slide. And then also the key focus here today is around migration services and a product we built that's called FlexBridge. So a little bit about our background. We've been doing SAP for a long, long time, back into the R2 days, early 90s. So we're very familiar with the design of SAP systems and those complex landscapes for global companies. So this is becoming very important again in the world of S4 HANA, and looking at those new implementations and how those should best be built. And we're going to talk about how we get here with the design phase for these legacy systems, including systems that are ECC that have been running for a long, long time. What are the options available for the customers running those? So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the deployment, about looking at existing systems and migrating those systems that are currently live on-premise or private or public cloud, and how you can get to S4 HANA or HANA. And then lastly, although that's not the focus today, we cover the run, the run SAP, that methodology of going live and doing the best practice for SAP to keep it running to SAP's best practices. So one of the key enablers I like to think about Protera and why we provide value to the customer is taking the most recent technologies, and that certainly is the case for public cloud, for all these new innovations in cloud, and bringing that to SAP. And SUSE is a perfect marriage of providing that new operating system, the capabilities which you'll see shortly, and providing that for SAP systems. So these are some of the key features of running SAP in the cloud. And this presentation is not primarily about that, but just from a very high level, the agility, you can see the scalability and flexibility of running it in the cloud, where you can bring a system up or sunset a system and part-time it for a non-prod system or a system that's only required for compliance. You can bring the image over and sunset it and keep it down for only when the times you need to run it. Or you can scale up that seasonal business system that is only used primarily in the summer. We have a gardening company that runs SAP, and primarily most of their business is done in the springtime, so they can scale up those systems as needed and throttle them down when they're not as busy during the year. Security is built in, not only to SUSE but also the public clouds, and so we see this enhanced feature set, and this is something I'll briefly talk about here in the slides. And then lastly, all these converge with efficiencies to reduce cost and complexity and get you out of the cycle of hardware obsolescence, which is a perfect model with the licensing that SUSE provides all of its customers. So this is the only slide we'll talk about AppCare, so I'll make it very concise. The idea about AppCare is to provide a full lifecycle management of SAP solutions and all the systems that feed into SAP. So you can see the Office 365 suite here. You can see pretty much every solution that runs on the showroom floor we will fully support and provide an SLA, a guaranteed SLA for that, even in platforms that don't provide that. So the onus is on us to make sure that we're providing the proper runtime, performance, as well as getting your service tickets responded in the proper time and getting those resolved. So it's a guaranteed SLA and a monthly service fee for the full stack. And we can also do a part of it. If a customer wants to fully own their hardware and keep it on premise, we can provide the services just for SAP, or we can do the backups, whatever it might be. We have a lot of flexibility working with the customer and how they want to divvy the roles up. So that was AppCare, our managed services platform. And now I'm going to talk, the primary focus here in this meeting, and this discussion is around FlexBridge, around our IT transformation acceleration platform for migrations. And what are the considerations you should be thinking about for migration? So part of the discussion, when you think about migration, is the discussion around if you're going to put your compute in the public cloud. I would say, in the past, it's been a big key consideration about cost, and I think that conversation has now changed to what's the best operational benefits of running your SAP systems in the cloud. One of the coolest things, and you saw this as an attribute, is the way that you can quickly provision systems. So SUSE has available for both AWS and Azure the way that you can provide an image and provision that Hana system within minutes. These screenshots are a little old because it has SP2. Since then, SP3 is available. And the significance of this is not just getting the latest version, but you're getting a hardened version, something that's security tested and has custom built, all the kernel parameters that are built for Hana built into it. So you're getting a ready-to-run image of that operating system, and you can quickly provision Hana within having a white paper and running that just within a few minutes. And it's something you can easily script using the DevOps tools that both AWS and Azure provide. So it's a big reason to use SUSE, as well as all these very cool benefits. And it's not, again, not the purpose of this discussion, but the vast majority of compute that runs Hana is running on SUSE today. So encourage you to take a look at SUSE and all of its benefits for operating system, including these. So again, not the focus of today, but I'd encourage you to listen to some webinars. We have many, Protera has many on YouTube around both the HA and DR very cool features. They called cost optimize and performance optimize options for resiliency of those systems. And it's around system replication is what SR stands for here. So you can see that, very good white papers on how to set that up, really cool technology. As well as the advanced encryption capabilities. So you can have a single dashboard for all the encryption of your systems, not only SAP systems, but anything that is Linux-based. You can have advanced encryption and provide that within a single pane of glass, for all the SUSE environment. And then lastly, the other very cool feature that we take advantage of in our business for managed services is around the zero downtime with live kernel patching. So they released this a couple years ago. It's continually been improved. The capability here is that you can put those security updates that are kernel focused into a mode where you can live update it. So it basically can provide an opportunity for you to monthly patch those systems. In the past, we always got restricted to a quarterly update, and you're taking at least a 2-hour downtime. And this is still restrictive. You may have to take SAP down for some of these patches, but the big stopping and starting of these large Hana systems, which can take an hour in of itself, you get away from that. So it's a tremendous feature into the enterprise version of SLES. So certainly encourage you to take a look at that. So into the main focus here today is around migrating to Hana and S/4HANA. So even if you don't choose to use our tool set, these considerations that we're going to address about the tool set, you're going to want to consider in your migration path. What we've done with the tool set, as we've been doing migrations for over 20 years, is we take those best practices from both SAP and what we found to be the best, as well as working with SLES and also the public clouds, and we put that into a tool set called FlexBridge. It's a software solution that follows the Activate methodology. So if you're not familiar with that, I know they have some really good sessions here at Sapphire, so I encourage you to take a look at learning a little more about the methodology. That's something you certainly want to adhere to. Within the methodology of Activate, we'll go into all the phases, but we cover that within this tool set, and that includes the assessment, the actual automation of the migration itself, and the services around that, and all the tools that are built in. So I'll go into more detail in the next few slides on that. Any questions so far? We can wait till the end too, but just want to make sure everyone's following. So the big consideration here on migration, I'll first talk about the drivers. On the top we have the alignment with the SAP roadmap, and that's probably, at Sapphire, probably the biggest driver why people are here. You want to hear about the latest technologies that SAP is providing, and you want to make sure you're taking advantage of that for your customers. To get all the latest, all the cooking, all the latest development is all going to be in S/4HANA. So it's a big, compelling reason to get there, as well as all these really cool features that they're putting into the machine learning benefits that only S/4HANA has in it. And there's a lot of great sessions that I won't go into that in detail, but if you have some questions, I'm happy to go into some of those really cool items of compelling reasons why you want to go to S/4HANA today. I'll go into, in the next few slides, how we can simplify that journey, because it's a little more complicated in all the choices, but I'll go into that in more detail. The next option here, or next driver I should say, is the cloud adoption to reduce costs as well as complexity, but also these operational benefits that you get, not only within the platform of the cloud, but also, we talked about that slide, the scalability, the reliability, the agility, all these factors, in addition to the reduction of cost, of why you want to adopt the cloud today. And lastly, business transformation is a big driver, mergers and acquisitions, spin-offs, business unit consolidations. These are all drivers of why people are looking at cloud as well as S/4HANA. So that's the drivers. Now we look at migration types. There's three big categories. Now, most of the migration tools you're going to talk to on the showroom floor here is going to be in this first category, which is called lift and shift, or you can also call it the as is. And basically what that is that you're basically not providing business transformation, you're basically copying that system and moving to the cloud. So you're going to take that same operating system, same database, same SAP application, and you're going to move it. It's basically like taking a server and putting it into the cloud. It's the least risky, the easiest migration, and it provides the fastest benefit. So you can go to Azure or AWS immediately and provide, get the benefit. So that's provided. The big requirement here is that you have to be x86 based today to do that. If it's not compatible with the cloud, you're not going to be able to do the as is. The next category, it shows HANA here. It probably makes more sense if we classify this as a technical migration. So this term's been around for a long time in SAP. This is going to be where you transform the operating system or the database. So the idea here is that you're going to make a large change in the platform, but you're not going to disrupt your users. So it's paramount. This is a big decision, a big question. I think in our booth, it's been the biggest question of Sapphire I've heard is, should I go to HANA or should I go to S/4HANA? So that's a paramount decision to make. Are you going to do the technical migration, not disrupt your business users, or do you want to do the transformation and go into S/4HANA with this application migration? That's the last one. So in the application migration, you're going to transform not just the application, but all the other pieces below it. So the operating system, the database, and you can go to cloud. Now, the big differentiator and the big compelling event here is we recommend that you do this at the same time. So you can certainly take a multi-hop approach. You can go to cloud and then do the transformation to HANA or S/4HANA, or you can do it all at once. So the tools are there available to do it at once, and that's what we built FlexBridge around. To talk about so we're going to focus primarily on this S/4HANA approach. It does apply to HANA, but these slides are better well suited for S/4HANA. So we have on the left here, it's a little confusing because it's a blue background, but it's actually greenfield. This is the new implementation. And this, as I mentioned at the top of the discussion, this is an option for companies that are looking to go to S4 because they have a lot of legacy data, they have a lot of custom code, and they just know the first implementation could have been long and costly and painful. So they're looking at maybe redoing it and doing it better this time. So that's certainly an option. We're getting a lot of interest in re-implementation, even with that ECC system, which then would be the source, become a legacy system, essentially. The second option is the system conversion. That is going to be what's considered brownfield, and that term comes from the real estate business where you take a plot of land, you redevelop it, and make it something better, something new. So this can be applicable for any system that is ECC 6. You can go directly to S/4HANA. So we got that question a lot. It seems like a lot of confusion where you have to hop to go to HANA first. You can be on a traditional database and still go directly to S/4HANA. And this is where the focus of this presentation is around, because this is probably the more complicated approach, yet it's the one that provides the most business benefit, because you're taking that existing data that's been in your business for up to 20 years, and now you're providing the analytics engine with S/4HANA on top of it. So we see this as the greatest value to customers. And lastly, the other approach here to S/4HANA is you take the landscape transformation. So this can include it's more of a data-centric approach. You could take multiple ERP systems or even non-SAP systems and do a data extract, ETL, extract, transform, and load that data into S/4HANA. Now to do that, you still have a lot of components, a lot of aspects of the new implementation, because you have to configure it, you have to go through that business engineering still. So that is still a part here. And the other thing I would qualify here is that on this slide you could also put BW for HANA. It's the same approach for all these, as well as central finance. So if you've heard of that term, central finance, that is a consolidated system for financials that runs on S4. So that could be a middle ground that if you don't want to go through a full S4 HANA migration, you could run just the financials with that central finance. So all of these three approaches apply to BW for HANA, S4 HANA, and central finance. So on that middle piece, the brownfield, this migration of the existing system, when we talk about transformation of the application, there's actually multiple pieces to that. So you're all probably very familiar with the core of ECC, and that's being transformed into S4 HANA. So that middle piece, that is the tremendous change. There's some tools that are available, which I'll talk about here, that help with that journey. But in addition to that, we're going to transform from that Oracle or SQL Server database into any of the ones that are supported by SAP. It can be mainframe, iSeries, any of those traditional databases, which are then be converted to to the HANA database version 2.0. And the S4 HANA core, I should qualify, is that 1709 is the most recent version. And lastly, the big consideration if you're doing the brownfield conversion is you have to consider the front end. I know for SAP, they've been talking for many, many years about is simplifying the GUI, the front end experience, and it seems like they've really come up with a very good solution around Fiori and making it a tile-based, mobile-enabled application. So the thing that the big focus on Fiori is that you have to differentiate amongst the 1,100 apps, those Fiori apps that are available, what's pertinent to your customer, to your business, and what should be green lit up, and enabled. So that's a key focus on the migration. So as I mentioned, for S4 HANA, as long as you're on ECC 6.0, on any enhancement package, even if there's none, if it's 0, you can go directly to 1709. And that's running the latest version of 2.0 HANA. That's required for 1709. The big thing that this slide doesn't have, and you got to remember, is that you need to be on Unicode. It's pretty rare that companies aren't running Unicode, but this is a showstopper, and it means that you can't do it in one weekend. You'll have to do a Unicode conversion before you can do that one step. So it's an exception, but just something that's probably the biggest thing to take away from this session. If you're looking to go to S4 HANA, make sure you're on Unicode today, and your basis team would certainly know that. So this is the slide that introduced the Activate methodology. It's on the bottom. I apologize, that last one's a little hard to see because it's yellow with white. But the phases are the discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. So those are the 6 phases. SAP has a lot of great information right on their website about what all the phases can to mean. In the FlexBridge methodology, using Activate, this translates to the following events. And I'll show a little more detail on the test migration in a moment. But from a very high level, we're going to do a technical assessment. We're going to identify Unicode issues, Java, looking at the architecture, all the versioning of the components of SAP, the database, the operating system, and find any showstoppers that you have to know about right away. And the nice thing about this is this first piece is especially if you're looking to go to HANA, Business Suite on HANA, or S4, this will help derive that answer. So at this point, we can do a roadmap, find out the customer intentions for CRM, what they're looking to do for all these other systems, not ECC or BW, and what's the roadmap. So we will derive that with the customer. If they're going to go to S4, then we will go into this S4 assessment, and I'll show you a slide what that's going to map out to. This is the prepare phase. This is where you basically take a deep dive into the functional areas. You look at the security, you look at all the Fiori apps, you look at the custom code, and that's where the remediation, all the plans come in. From that, we're going to do the explore. So this pilot phase, which I'm going to go to in the next slide, we're going to then build up a system, and you're actually going to take the work list that's identified in this assessment and prepare, and we're going to do that work list. Now, this can be done by the customer. Most typically, it's probably going to be done by an integration partner, a systems integrator. So this listing would be targeted for either, but the customer certainly would have access and see all the work that's being done. And then the test migrations performed. From the key value of that is not only a test to see your system data, but this is you could say a proof of concept system that's available for your whole migration. So you always can compare. You can use this for training throughout the whole business project plan for the migration. So that system, typically we'll see our proposed project plan or standard for a 3-system landscape is going to be 27 weeks. So about week 4 in, you're going to have this test landscape available for the rest of that migration project. And lastly, we're going to do the production migration. So this consists of copy of prod once again. We're going to do the dev system and production. And the reason we don't do quality is that we make a copy of production to create the quality system in that target environment. And then lastly, we're in the run phase, we're productive. So a little more about the proof of concept, and again, apologize this came in a little light, but I'll describe from a process verbally. So we have that prod system. We recommend a copy to me, because obviously we don't want to do anything in prod for testing, but we want to have a very recent image what that prod system looks like, because it has all the config, and that's what the business is running off of. We have this copy. This is going to be an ECC 6 or enhancements package 0 up to 8. And then from that, we're going to do the pre-conversion steps. This is the prepare, the discovery. We're going to do all those steps that the system integrator or the customer is going to go through. And from that, we're actually going to do the uptime. So the uptime shown essentially is here. From the uptime completion, there's a small window, and as a reference sake, we can do a 2 terabyte system in about a downtime of 12 hours. And the key aspect of that is we want to be able to fit that migration into a 48-hour window on the weekend. So with that, you can do enough regression testing, making sure all the interfaces are set up properly, and even set up some of the DR or HA if that's an option that you want to take advantage of. So we would do that on go live weekend. And the post steps are done then. And then lastly, we're going to do that same process essentially for development of another prod copy if needed, and then production. So it's an iterative process that is tested as much time as the customer wants to. This next slide I'll show is the idea that this applies for not just the purpose of this discussion, which is SAP HANA and S4 HANA, but you can apply this to the cloud migration. So this is as is. You can apply the same idea, as well as setting up DR, recovery as a service, same idea. So to start this process off, so I encourage all of you, you can do a free assessment just to kick this off. You get a transport or the source code from us. You run this in all the systems you wish to migrate, and within a week, we're going to provide you an automated generated report that's going to have it per landscape your environment. And I think I have next, maybe I don't. The report is going to show the source environment, so it's going to go through all those details I mentioned, all remediation that you got to be aware of. Again, this helps the decision of HANA versus S4 HANA, and it's going to give you the overview of the project plan and the proposed customer solution for the public clouds. Oh, all right, got 1 minute, I'm getting noticed, so I'll make it quick. And then lastly, it's if you want to get education on the benefits of cloud, we provide that as an appendix. The prepare stage is shown here. This is the application areas that you got to be aware of, simplification items, looking at the Fury apps, and the custom code analysis. So I encourage you to stop at our booth to get a demo of all this live. You can see all this real time. We provide this web app to you so you can use this through the whole migration. And then the execute phase is actually fully automated, and this provides these benefits. So it's an assistive technology. We run this ourselves, so you have to worry about doing the migrations. We can run as many migrations, so if you have 10 production systems, we can do all those at the same time on the same weekend. We auto-provision the target environment. We automate if there's an error that we will rerun that phase and then provide a corrective action if needed. And then also we provide a web app that can be run on your phone to see exactly where you're at, the performance KPIs of how the migration is running. So encourage you to stop by our booth, get the free assessment, take a look at the web app in detail, and if you have Q&A, we might be out of time, but feel free, you can stop by and answer other questions. So thank you all. Appreciate your time.